Cats! Welcome back to another episode of Chat About That. I'm your host Bella, and in this episode, I'm going to be chatting all about why I decided to get a Blue Tongue Skink. So for today's episode, I'm going to be chatting all about Blue Tongue Skinks, why I decided to get one, and talking a little bit more about my Blue Tongue Skink. If you're accessing the podcast on YouTube, you saw in the intro that I showed my Blue Tongue Skink Gizmo. I have her right here next to me. I'm going to try not to pick her up too much because she is in the process of shedding, so she's a little bit, I wouldn't say temperamental, but she doesn't really want to be handled too much right now while she's in this process of shedding. So I'll show her a little bit here and there, but I don't want to hold her the entire time. And if you hear some sort of scraping noise, that's because she is climbing around in the container that I have her in, and she's trying to escape, because she does try to escape when I put her in tiny little containers. Even though it's not that small, the container, she does try to escape. So I'll hold her for the time being, but I won't hold her the entire time. So for a little background on why I decided to get a Blue Tongue Skink is actually because I first held a Blue Tongue Skink when I was a sophomore in college. I was in charge of an animal fair that we had in our coffee house, which is no longer there. They remodeled the entire coffee house. But when I was in college, I was in charge of this little animal fair that we did, and they brought in a bunch of reptiles, and I was in charge of monitoring this one section that had blue tongue skinks and bearded dragons, and that was the first time I ever held a blue tongue skink. I didn't know anything about them beforehand, and that's also when I learned that bearded dragons are actually what they use in Holes for the yellow spotted lizard. So if you've ever seen the movie Holes, the yellow spotted lizards in that movie were actually just bearded dragons with paint on their backs. They just painted the little spots on their backs. So that's a little fun fact about bearded dragons, I guess. But yeah, I'd never held a blue tongue skink before. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I highly recommend that you check this episode out on YouTube if you're just somebody who listens to the podcast on podcast players. But I do have my Blue Tongue Skink right here. So she is actually a little over a year old, so she will get much bigger than this. Again, I'm not going to try to hold her too much in this video because I don't want her to make her upset. But she is in the process of shedding, so she's kind of gray right now, but I will be inserting pictures of her throughout the video, and you can also check out her Instagram, which I will link in the description of this episode, so you can see what she looks like when she is all full of her regular colors. But she is only about a year old, so she will get much bigger than this. And I'm calling her a she because I believe that she is a she, but you can't really tell when they're this old what gender they are. So I think that she's a girl, so I call her a girl, but once she gets older and if I discover that she is actually a boy, then I will refer to her as a boy, but I like to think that she's a girl because she's actually the first pet that I've owned by myself. We did have a dog when I was growing up, but this is the first time I've actually owned my own pet, so this is very, very exciting. I'm going to put her down right now. She's getting a little fidgety. She's probably going to try to escape again, so I will keep an eye on her. So back to the animal fair that I was in charge of in college. That was the first time I held a blue tongue skink, and I thought they were so cute. I learned that they're very easy to handle and really easy to take care of, and I just thought they were so cool. And then flash forward to 2019, the end of 2019, when I met my boyfriend. I actually met him on a dating app, and he had pictures with him and blue tongue skinks, and I was really intrigued by that. So when we met for the first time, I asked him all about blue tongue skinks, and he told me that he has 2 of them, which actually gets us into the next topic that I want to talk about, is the different species of blue tongue skinks. So Gizmo, my blue tongue skink, who is crawling inside of her tube right now, and when she is out, I will pick her up and show you because it's really cute when she's in her tube. So my boyfriend has 2 different types of blue tongue skinks, and there's actually 8 different kinds of blue tongue skinks. And Gizmo is an Indonesian blue tongue skink, and then there are northern blue tongue skinks, which are native to Australia. And then there's a couple of different subspecies within those. And then there's also this really cool skink called a shingleback skink, which if you live in Australia or you have a lot of money to pay for one, you can get one in the States. But they are very hard to get in the States, and they are native to Australia. They are super cool. They kind of look like pine cones. And I would absolutely love to get a shingleback skink. But in the States, they can go for probably $10,000 at the lowest. So don't think I'll be getting one of those ever. But my boyfriend has a northern blue tongue skink and an Indonesian blue tongue skink. Again, Gizmo is an Indonesian blue tongue skink. And the difference between them is slightly different. The northern blue tongue skinks, which are native to Australia, tend to be more orange, and the Indonesian blue tongue skinks tend to be more brown in color. And the tongues, why they're called blue tongue skinks, is because they have blue tongues. The northern blue tongue skink's tongue is completely blue, whereas the Indonesian blue tongue skinks, the front of their tongue is blue, and then towards the middle and then all the way in the back of their tongue is actually pink. And scientists aren't exactly sure why they have blue tongues. Some say that it's because it's to ward off predators, because in the wild, if you have, blue or really bright colors, that sort of shows predators that there's poison, so it might have something to do with that, but scientists aren't entirely sure why they have blue tongues. But I think they're really adorable, and it's really cute when they stick their tongue out. So I'll insert a couple of pictures here of Gizmo's tongue sticking out. She's absolutely adorable. Again, if you are accessing the podcast on podcast players versus YouTube, you can check out the link in the description to Gizmo's Instagram page where you can see more pictures of her. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, this is her inside of her tube. Again, I'm not going to pick her up for too long, but here she is. You can see that beautiful blue tongue right there, and you can see a little bit that the back of her tongue is actually pink. So this is what I call tube time. She loves to be in her tube, so I'm going to put her down. I probably won't pick her up again for the rest of this episode, so I'll just insert some pictures and videos of her. So going back to why I decided to get a blue tongue skink, I have been interested in getting a pet for quite a while. After I graduated college, I decided that I did want a pet, but I was kind of trying to figure out what pet I wanted. I didn't want a dog, even though I absolutely love dogs. I didn't want one because I feel that they're such a big responsibility, and it's really hard to, I don't want to say have a social life when you have a dog, because that's not entirely true, but for my lifestyle, I didn't think a dog was a very good option for me. I was also thinking about getting a cat. Previously, I lived with a roommate, so I didn't really think having a pet in general was very good. But now I live in a studio apartment, and it's just not very conducive to having a cat. There's really no place for me to put the litter box unless I put it somewhere in my closet, which, I don't want litter anywhere near my clothes, or cat smell or cat droppings anywhere near my clothes. So I don't think a cat is a very good option for me. Maybe if I lived in a one bedroom, I might have a cat, but just not really a good option for me. And I'm really not into fish. I don't really find them to be that interesting as pets for me. I do find them to be absolutely beautiful, and I love all animals, but fish are not exactly for me. So once I met my boyfriend and saw that he had a ton of animals, he had blue tongue skinks, which I remember all the way back from college that I really liked blue tongue skinks. I thought they were super cool. And after handling his blue tongue skinks and learning a lot more about blue tongue skinks from him, I decided that was the pet that I wanted. So going into their care, they're actually very easy to take care of. I have her in a glass enclosure. It's a front opening enclosure, and I have a heat mat in there. You can have a basking lamp as well. They need substrate, which is basically dirt or some sort of material for them to burrow in. So a lot of people will use something called Eco Earth. Tons of different pet companies make substrate for reptiles, so make sure it's a reptile safe substrate. And they like to burrow, so you have to have a thick layer of substrate for them to burrow in. They obviously need food and water. I leave a bowl of dried crickets for her in her tank every single day, so she's able to go and find those crickets and eat them when she wants. I also feed her this thing called Bluey Buffet. It's made by Rapashi, and it's basically what I call Jell-O for animals. It comes in a powder, and you mix it a certain part water, certain part powder, and you basically just make this little Jell-O and cut it up in little chunks, and they eat it. They absolutely love it. It is full of calcium. It's also full of bugs, and she absolutely loves it. I feed that to her every other day, and then she has access to those crickets every single day as well. And then I have a gravity water bowl for her, which basically you fill it up, and then as she drinks out of it, the water fills up by itself, and then once it gets low enough, you refill it again. Super easy, refills itself, so you don't have to go into the tank every single day and refill up the water. I do try to take her out once a day. When she's shedding, I try not to take her out too much. That's why I'm letting her have her tube time over here and not bother her too much because she's shedding. But I do try to take her out once a day so she can get some exercise. Sometimes I'll put her on the floor. I have hardwood floor, so if she goes to the bathroom, it's very easy to clean up. But I will put her on the floor and I'll let her roam around, obviously making sure she doesn't go under my couch or the fridge or anything like that or get stuck anywhere. But it's good for her to have some time to explore and have enrichment every day. So again, when she's shedding, I try not to take her out too much and bother her. Blue tongue skinks can also eat a variety of different foods. So in the wild, they are ground dwellers. Since they, live on the ground, they like to burrow underground. They can eat a wide variety of foods. They should not have any dairy or grains, but in the wild, they will eat flowers, they'll eat fruits, berries, insects, basically anything that they can find on the ground, they'll forage for. I would say the blue tongue skinks are very good pets for beginners. Blue tongue skinks are probably a really good option for people who are interested in getting into reptiles. They're pretty easy to care for, as I've mentioned. Now, the only thing I would say to downside is up front, they can be a bit expensive. It kind of depends on what kind of blue tongue skink you want and also the morph of blue tongue skinks. I'm not going to go into morphs. That's basically when animals are bred. They can have different patterns and different colors based on their parents. It's a whole giant process in the reptile community all about morphs. Gizmo is just a regular blue tongue skink, and I think she's absolutely beautiful. But when you go into more difficult or more intricate morphs, they can be more expensive. But upfront, I would say that the cheapest that you can get a blue tongue skink, not including its enclosure or food or anything like that, the actual just the animal, the cheapest that I've seen them for go for $150, and the most expensive blue tongue skink I have ever seen online was $10,000. So if you want a pet, you can spend as little as about $150, $200, or if you want something really rare and super intricate, you can spend $10,000 for it. I did not spend $10,000 on Gizmo. Now, if you are looking into getting a blue tongue skink, you do have to check with your state's or your country's guidelines, because they are considered an exotic pet. So some states do not allow people to have blue tongue skinks. I live in the DC area, so I'm allowed to have a blue tongue skink. But there are some reptiles, some animals that I was looking into getting that I'm not allowed to have. For example, I was looking into getting an axolotl. They are a water creature and they're actually illegal in Virginia. I do believe it's because they're considered an invasive species. And there's some other guidelines too. So any pet that you get, if it's an exotic animal, please check with your local state guidelines to see if you're allowed to have them. Also, if you are looking to move across the country or to another state, always double check to make sure that the pets that you have or the pets that you're going to get are legal in your areas. I do know that hedgehogs are illegal in Pennsylvania, or at least the last I heard. So some people in college, I went to college in Pennsylvania, some of my friends, they did want to get hedgehogs and they were not allowed to because they're illegal. So again, make sure that they are legal. I do believe the blue tongue skinks are legal pretty much everywhere in the United States. But I am, again, not an expert on all the laws for blue tongue skinks, so please check if you are interested in getting a blue tongue skink. I will leave a link in the description for an amazing resource for not just blue tongue skinks, but all different types of reptiles, and it's called Morph Market. It's basically this hub for breeders or pet shops to post available animals, and you can see pictures of them, and then you can go to those breeders' websites and learn more about them and see if that's the type of pet that you want. And it's a really great resource, again, for morphs. If you're really interested in a certain color of a blue tongue skink, or if you're looking into getting, a snake and you want, this type of snake, but you want it to be, striped, or you want it to be, have polka dots, or be it yellow or red or whatever. I'm kind of just making this up, but it's a really good resource for you to check out to see basically all reptiles that are available. So again, I will leave that link in the description. It's called Morph Market. There's another thing I want to talk about with blue tongue skinks. Unfortunately, Gizmo is very happy in her tube, so I cannot show you live, but I will show you pictures. Blue tongue skinks have very short, stubby legs. So that helps them with their foraging around on the ground out in the wild. And because of that, they are not very fast. Now, I will say if you startle them, they can run off. They're not fast enough where you're gonna lose it like you would with other kinds of lizards. They can't jump. So if they are on a table or a surface and they get to the edge of the table, they will see that they can't walk anymore and they won't jump off of the table. But I find their cute little stubby legs to be absolutely adorable. I call them little sausage legs because they look like little sausage links. So again, that's another reason why I think that they're good beginner pets, because they're not going to run away from you. I've had Gizmo out before and I went into the kitchen to get something and I came back to find her and she was pretty much in the same spot. But you know, if I did startle her or something, which I don't do, she can run off, but again, not fast enough for her to get lost anywhere. So if you're a parent listening to this and you're interested in getting one of these for your kids, it's definitely a good option. I will say that I have been bitten by one of my boyfriend's Blue Tongue Skinks. Now, it was a specific circumstance. His lizard was in the process of shedding, and I was rubbing his back to help him get some of the shed off, and he was not happy about it, and he turned around and kind of just nipped at me a little bit. Did not break skin, was not a mean, aggressive bite. He wasn't doing it because he is an aggressive animal. It was just like, hey, I don't like you touching me right now, and he nipped at me a little bit. Gizmo has never intentionally bit me. She did bite me on accident one time because I had some berry juice on my finger and she thought that it was a whole berry and she stuck her mouth on my finger, but again, not an aggressive bite. So I would say their bites, it's very rare and it's more food-based biting. So that is something to keep in mind if you're looking to get one of these. Definitely not something that should deter you. So just be careful if you're handling them or if you were cutting up food. One time I was eating ice cream and I had a little spill on my arm, and Gizmo was licking my arm and tried to bite my arm because she thought that I had ice cream. Because again, they shouldn't have dairy, but they absolutely love it. So again, just wash your hands if you're handling food. But they do have tiny little teeth. You can barely see them. So if they do bite you, it'll just be like, just really like a surface bite. Nothing bad, just run it under some water. You probably don't even need a Band-Aid. So again, really great lizards for beginners, for kids. They're just absolutely wonderful pets. I think they are so sweet and easy to take care of. You can actually leave them alone for a couple of days as long as they have food and water in their tank, and they'll be absolutely fine. And they just go to the bathroom in their tank and you can just clean it up super easy. Again, I'm glad I have wooden floors in case she does decide to go to the bathroom. I don't have to clean anything up on my carpet. She hasn't done that on the floor or anything, but one of my boyfriend's skinks is notorious for going to the bathroom every time it comes out of its tank. So just keep that in mind. They will go to the bathroom. Again, yes, they are an animal, so they are going to go to the bathroom, but nothing major, just easy cleanup. Another thing I should mention is that Blue Tongue Skinks are not known for dropping their tails. Now, if you're not a reptile owner or know anything about reptiles, some species of reptiles will drop their tails, literally drop them if they get scared or are trying to run away from a predator, something like that. That's why it's called dropping their tails, because they'll literally just detach it from their bodies. Some lizards will grow their tails back, and some lizards will not grow their tail back at all. It is extremely rare for a Blue Tongue Skink to drop their tail. I've Googled it, just Googling things for my own sake when I was getting my Blue Tongue Skink. I tried to Google pictures of a Blue Tongue Skink dropping their tail, a video of it happening. I could not find anything on the internet. And I'm sure if I did some more research that there's probably a picture or video of it somewhere, but in my research I couldn't find anything. So if I can't find it on the internet, it is extremely rare. And if your Blue Tongue Skink drops its tail, it means you are doing something completely wrong. You are just not taking care of it at all properly, and you should not be owning a Blue Tongue Skink or any kind of pet, actually, if your Blue Tongue Skink drops its tail. So that is something that you do not have to worry about with Blue Tongue Skinks. If you are a reptile owner, or if that kind of concept with reptiles or any kind of animal that's really freaky, if that bothers you, you don't need to worry about that at all with Blue Tongue Skinks. They will not drop their tail on you. Gizmo came out of her tube, so I thought that I would pick her up and show you her one last time before I say goodbye. I know this episode was a little bit short, but I hope that you learned more about Blue Tongue Skinks. I hope that if you're somebody who's interested in reptiles or looking to get a really easy pet, that this helped you learn a little bit more about them and helped inspire you to maybe consider getting a Blue Tongue Skink. Again, I will link Gizmo's Instagram in the episode description. I'll also link the website for Morph Market in the description if you want to learn, more about some reptile breeders or just other reptiles in general. Again, she is in the process of shedding, so she's not as vibrant as she normally is, but I will put pictures of her right now of what she looks like, and I posted them throughout the video, and you can see her Instagram and see how pretty she is, even though she's pretty all the time. You can see that beautiful blue tongue right here. Show your tongue. Oh, you're so pretty. Yeah, you can see how it's blue on the bottom and then pink right in the back. Show your tongue one more time, please, and then I'll put you down. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you learned a lot about Blue Tongue Skinks. I hope it inspired you to do your own research into reptiles and to Blue Tongue Skinks to see if you want to get one for yourself. They're absolutely amazing pets. I would highly recommend them. Make sure that you do all of your research and know how to properly take care of one before you get one. As always, stay safe, stay classy, and I will chat again with you soon. Goodbye.